how they feel about things. Right? A well-informed voting audience is a good voting audience. So I hope that's what you're here for tonight, is to find out about some of these candidates. Like I said, we drew cards. The city got to speak first in each group. And so the first one that's going to speak tonight will be the county commissioners, is Mr. Rick York. Rick, you want the microphone?
Probably do.
Okay.
It's DJ Raven K broadcasting live from Greer County Chamber of Commerce.
Is a podium to have, because I can't suck my gun in this one.
You can hold a little closer. Hold a little closer.
Okay, for those that don't know you, go me. I'm Brent York. I'm the current county commissioner, Greer County District 1. I was elected in 2010. I was re-elected in 2014. And I'd really like to be re-elected in 2018. So, first thing I'm going to get out of the way, if y'all hadn't noticed, I do not have political hair. See, I mean, think about it. Look, President Trump, now there's some hair. But I think I may have got maybe Governor Keating's due. Anyway, I talked to David a while back, and he said it started out this was going to be commissioners only, and I'm really happy that you other guys are here, because we need to hear from you too. In 2010, two commissioners had retired, and they had a forum like this, and there was 8 of us running. And those 8, including myself, we didn't have a clue what was going on. We had heard stories, but we didn't know. And the buzzword then was courthouse renovation. And we still didn't know what it was. But I do now. So, another thing, when David called, is he said we needed to give our plan to you. Well, prior to me being county commissioner, I worked 32 years for USDA for the Natural Resources Conservation Service. And we would go out, the landowner would call us, and we would go out to their farm, and we would make them a conservation plan. But this was their plan. It was things that they wanted to do, and we just helped them get it done. So my plan going forward is just like that. I want the input of the people. This is not my plan. This is what we need to do for Greer County going forward. I think we're doing okay, but I need to talk to the people. I'm going to back up, because other than that hair deal, I've got another pet peeve. I hate negative campaign ads. I hate them. And our Attorney General's race has gotten crazy. And I know Mike Hunter, and I know the Drummond family. I don't know Mr. Drummond personally, but they can't be as bad as what those ads are. They just can't be. So anyway, that's my pet peeve. You like my notes? Okay. One of the achievements I'm most proud of is right across the street. It's our courthouse. I didn't know anything about it in 2010, but I'm really proud of what our Board of Commissioners have done to upgrade that courthouse. Some people thought we needed to borrow $1 million and just do everything we was going to do all at once. We opted not to do that. We decided just to do projects as the tax funds came in, and it seemed to work pretty well. But we had to decide what to do first, and of course that was the roof, because those of you that worked in there was buckets on the second floor catching water, right next to the computer. So we had to do the roof first, so we did that. Then second of all, we cleaned up on the third and fourth floor where the water was running in. There was a very bad infestation of pigeons and bats, and it got to stinking really bad. It was really a health issue. So we did that secondly. So I'm hoping you guys are breathing easier up there. The third thing we did was resurface the parking lot. Then we installed the windows and doors. And the next thing we're going to plan on doing is we're going to clean all the brick and the stone outside of the building. Maybe make that old granite shine like it's new. Judge Eric, some people got Judge Judy, we've got Judge Eric. He has a proposal to upgrade the current courtroom, which I'm sure it needs it, and we're going to do that pretty quick. The people in Greer County have voted to continue the sales tax for the renovation, which made us very happy. Because we are a pretty poor county. We don't have as much tax revenue coming in. It's pretty tight most of the time. We kind of learned how to get around it, live by our means. But they did vote that in. And what we have planned going forward is some electrical work, some new plumbing, work on some floors. The HVAC systems are getting kind of old. We also included the fairgrounds in this election cycle, and it needs some insulation. It needs some sewer work, just stuff like that. And the jail, it is just an ongoing process. You never know what's going to go wrong with the jail next. Eric also, he would love to see the old courtroom upstairs on the third floor redone, and I would too. It's going to take some ingenuity, some grants maybe. If y'all haven't been up there, ask to go. It's very nostalgic. Got a big rotunda up there. The same architect that did our state capitol building did this one also. Same architect. And you can see it when you get up there. So maybe someday is all I'm going to say there. Okay. While I was out knocking doors last week or so, I had some people ask some questions. They weren't funny questions. They were pretty serious questions. But they kind of took me by surprise. One of them asked, "What does the county commissioner do?" And I stumbled around a while, and I came up with pretty good answers. But since then, I wrote a few down. I'm not going to read them all, but I'll give you the gist of it. This is the list of duties and responsibilities of the county commissioner. They are the governing body of the courthouse, exercise direct control over the county highway system, audit the accounts of all officers handling county money, make general financial plans for the county, including the county budget, audit and approve claims against the county, issue calls for bonds, bond elections, and other special elections, organize and direct 911 services, approve the county payroll. How much time have I got?
About 30 seconds.
We'll quit that. And another question. Is a good one too. Why do you want this job? And then the next sentence was, why do either one of you want this job? Well, I don't, I stammered again. But we talked about money. I just stood there and talked to the guy. He said, it's not for money, is it? I said, no, we don't get paid that much money. He said, what about prestige? I said, that goes away after about the third phone call. But I've been a public servant since 1978. And I told him this, I think the reason that I want it is just because I like to help people. And that's all I could come up with. So, sum up, I'm enjoying what I do. I want to continue to do what I'm doing. So, please go vote on, you got 4 days to do it. Should have time there. One other thing, David.
Hurry.
Okay. I'm not going to tell anyone who to vote for, but there's 2 ladies on the ballot that are kind of special to me. One of them is Leslie Osborne. She's running for Commissioner of Labor. The other one is Cindy Bird, running for State Auditor. They're fine, fine ladies, and they deserve research. Don't just take my word for it. Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Jeff Martis will be our next, he's the next runner for County Commissioner. Jeff, I'll give you 8 minutes, since Brent went overtime there a little bit.
Thank you for having me here today. My name is Jeff Martis. My wife Jamie's at the back and my son Carson. Most of you are not from Mangum and probably don't know me, but I've been here most of my life, in fact all of my life, and there's a lot of questions that's been asked me also. We've lived here, we farm and ranch for a living. I worked for an Arctic Gas Company for 18 years prior to this, and I worked a little bit, 3 years in my younger days for the State Highway Department, and I even worked for the county as I was attending college, short-term college, when I was at South High School. I have a lot of experience in equipment and dirt work. Not that that's going to keep me elected or that that's the main thing, but I do have that experience. I have my own bulldozer, and we have our own farm equipment stuff that we operate and maintain, and there's a lot of maintenance to be involved in this job. I'm not going to stand here and tell you all my goals and visions, because all I can think of, there's a movie with Sam Elliott in it, and all you girls know who Sam Elliott is. And he's getting this couple across the country with a little boy. They got separated from a wagon train, and he told this little boy, he said, I'm going hunting in the morning. Would you like to go with me? And the little boy said, well, I've never been hunting before. And he said, son, I never had either till the first time. So that's where I'm at right here. If I was to get elected county commissioner, this is my first time, so I'm not going to stand here and tell you how smart I am about what all there are to do. I did Google it. You can Google anything in this world. And when you Google county commissioner, it tells you nothing that I thought a county commissioner was supposed to do. Nothing. It has nothing to do with roadways, ditches, waterways, really nothing about county government. It's a really weird deal. I do have goals. I have goals and I have visions. I will tell you this, there is always, on my ranch and my farm, there is always something to do. And we are self-employed. We have to be self-visioned to do what we have to do and to keep things maintained. That's my goal, is to be big on maintenance, to have something going on every day, to keep our work crews busy. I'm not saying they're not busy. I'm not saying that at all. I have a lot of questions about roadways. As an example, and Brent will agree with me on this, these blacktop roads we have are treacherous. They really are hard to maintain. There's not money there to maintain them like they need to be, because they were put there in the days of farm hauls and 2-ton trucks. Now we have all this big equipment, semis, 100,000-pound semis hauling wheat, gravel, whatever, running these roads. And that in itself can be an entire vision. Just with this job, there's a lot of courthouse duties, there's a lot of public duties. I'm willing to learn any of them. I'm a hard worker. If you don't believe me, ask my wife, because that's all we do. But we work hard, and we try to maintain, we try to take care of what we have. I just want to tell you that I will do the best job I can. If you have any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer them. And that's really all I'm going to tell you at this time. I do encourage each of you in Mangum, Oklahoma, and Greer County to go out and vote on June 26th. And thank you again for letting me have this minute.
Now, these 2 men, you get Mangum District 1, that's your ballot on June 26th. One of these 2 gentlemen is going to be the next county commissioner. So make sure you get out and exercise your right to vote. Okay. Now, my understanding, Mr. Duffy and Mr. Leverett, you're not on the ballot till November. That's correct. So you'll vote on these next 2 gentlemen in the general election in November what? November 6th. On the 7th is my brain for some reason. I don't know why it was. Okay. Brad Leverett.
We're not on until November 6th, but you did invite us, so.
You bet. We want to hear what you got planned.
That's right. Most of you know me. For those that don't, I'm just Brad Leverett from Altus. I grew up in Altus. My dad was a banker there for a long time. He's a farmer now. He and my nephew, his grandson, farmed wheat and cattle and cotton. My mom was a public school teacher in the Altus Public Schools for 30 years. I have one brother, Dr. Joe Leverett. He's an internal medicine physician in Altus. My wife Robin is seated at the back. She's Judge Russell's court reporter over in Hobart and has done that for about 15 years. My beautiful daughter Holly is seated next to my beautiful wife. Holly has taught school in the Edmond Public Schools for the last 3 years. Sadly, she has resigned to go back to nursing school. She starts at OU Nursing in the fall, which means more college to pay for. Both of my kids are OSU grads, as I was. They both graduated in 3 years, as I didn't. My son Travis went on to law school after graduating from OSU. He's smart, like his mother. He graduated from Harvard Law School in May of 2017. He works for a large law firm in Houston called Fulbright Jaworski. After I graduated from OSU in 1982, I went straight to OU Law. I graduated there in 1985. I immediately started prosecuting. I went to Alva, Oklahoma, which is Woods County. Stayed there 2 years. Went to Enid, Oklahoma, which is Garfield County. Stayed 5 years there. In 1991, John Walker was elected in this district. He ran me down in Enid, asked me to come back and be his first assistant. I was wanting a reason to come back anyway, so I was more than happy to come home. This is home for me and always will be. I worked for John another 7 years after that until January of 98. That was a total of 13 and a half years in prosecution. During those 13 and a half years, I successfully prosecuted literally thousands of felony cases. I had over 30 felony jury trials, multiple first-degree murder jury trials, 3 death penalty jury trials, robbery, rape, child molestation, child murder, vehicular homicide. If there's anything terrible that one human being can do to another, I've prosecuted someone for it and held them responsible for it. I was recognized by my peers in 1994 as the outstanding district attorney in the whole state of Oklahoma. I was prosecutor of the year in 1994. I was gang prosecutor of the year in 1997. Believe it or not, little old Altus, Oklahoma developed a pretty serious gang problem back in the 90s, and I helped eradicate that, or at least curb it. In 1998, 3 other lawyers and I decided to create our own law firm. We bought a building in downtown Altus. We renovated it. And in January of 1998, we launched our own law firm. I spent 9 years in the private practice of law. It was a good and successful 9 years. I learned a lot about the civil side of law. In 2006, I was again awarded with a statewide recognition. I was voted by the Oklahoma Department of Human Services the Adoption Advocate of the Year for the whole state of Oklahoma. In 2007, Judge Darby, who just went on the Supreme Court and left the vacancy that we were attempting to fill, he asked me to be his special judge in Altus. I've faithfully served in that capacity for the last 11 years. I've enjoyed every one of them. I graduated from the National Judicial College in Reno, Nevada during my time there. Among other things, I run the District 3 Drug Court Program, which is my favorite part of the job. There's several Greer County residents in our program and doing well. In 2016, our drug court program was voted the outstanding drug court in the state for reuniting families, which I'm very proud of. I have a very unique background and skill set. If you sat down and drew up the ideal qualifications for a judge, you would want someone who's honest and trustworthy, who has lots of godly wisdom, who is a man of high character and integrity, who's well respected in his family, in his community, and in his church. You would want a person with lots of professional experience, who's been a DA, run their own law firm, and been a judge for 10 years. That's really a rare combination. You don't find that very many places, to have that kind of varied background and approximately 10 years in each of those areas. I cannot imagine anyone being better prepared for this position than I am. And you need to be careful about who you put in the position, because they're in such a position of trust over the community. If you or a family member becomes the victim of a crime, which happens more often than you think, you might think, if you get sued or have to sue someone, how well your cause gets heard in court depends to a great extent on who you put in this position. In case you've never been there, being involved in litigation can be pretty miserable. It's misery on top of misery if you get an ineffective, inexperienced, or just outright bad judge to preside over your case. As the chief trial judge in this 5-county area, the district judge supervises 6 other judges. They need him to know what he's doing. He typically does all the major felony trials. He handles all the felony cases. That's the majority of what the district judge job is handling major felony prosecutions. Big felony trials, they're all important. And he's in charge. He needs to know what he's doing in that position. If you ask me for my vision is that the District 3 court system is run with excellence and efficiency, that the lawyers across the state recognize our district, that we serve with honor, that our judges serve with honor and integrity and work well together, that the litigants are treated with dignity and respect, and everybody gets a fair shake, no matter who you are. I loathe the good old boy system. I hope you do too, where people think because they have money or power that they are entitled to preference. My vision is that everybody, big or small, rich or poor, gets treated the same. No favorites, justice for all, no matter who you are. I want a system where the cases are processed efficiently, where the rule of law is known and followed, where we deal with people, not just case numbers, not just a file number, we're dealing with people. I want addicts to get help. I want the innocent to go free. I want the immature to learn from their mistakes. And I want dangerous criminals, dangerous and violent criminals to go to prison where they belong. It all starts with good leadership at the top, and I will provide that good leadership if you allow me the privilege with your vote on November the 6th.
Mr. Mike Duffy.
Thank you, David. I was a little worried about this microphone that Brent Howard may break into some Elvis impersonations later, so let's cross our fingers that doesn't happen. I'm Mike Duffy. I'm running for district judge, and it's a position that we've had a privilege to have a gentleman named Judge Richard Darby in that for 24 years. And upon his appointment to the Oklahoma Supreme Court, the position is now vacant. It's an open position. There is no incumbent, and Brad and I are running for that spot. As I've gotten out and talked to people around the district, I'm finding that the roles of the district judges in the court system, not everybody kind of knows them. I don't want to talk down to anybody here, but I've found it helpful that I do describe some, kind of the roles, and Brad went over it a little bit, but essentially the district judge presides over all 5 counties of District 3, Greer, Harmon, Jackson, Kiowa, and Tillman counties, and each county has its own associate district judge. Over here you have Judge Yarborough. And the district judge and the associate district judge can handle any type of case that may come before the court. You've also heard Brad mention special judge, and that's a question that I've received. If your county is large enough, then the district judge can hire a special judge. And Jackson County is the only county with a special judge. Unlike the district judge and the associate district judge, the special judge's role is limited by statute, the types of cases that the special judge can hear. Typically, it's a small claims docket, and which is cases involving money less than $10,000. Back when I started in '89, I think it was probably $3,500 or something like that. But that just shows you how old I am. And the other probably major facet of the special judge's role is preliminary hearings in criminal cases. That's an initial hearing where it's determined if there's enough evidence to bind that defendant over for trial. It doesn't determine the innocence or guilt of the party. It's just whether that case should proceed to trial. The special judge can do other things and under certain circumstances. And I will say, to Brad's credit, he has taken on more responsibility in that role than the predecessor in that position that we had for years. But typically in Oklahoma, that's the role of the special judge. So I hope that was helpful. So who am I? I'm Mike Duffy. I'm from Altus. I've lived there all my life. My dad's Larry Duffy, who's been at Western Oklahoma State College for almost 40 years. My mom Sharon taught school at Sunset Elementary for 37 years. I have a sister, Kim, who's in the Weatherford school system. And I'm married to Christy, who's here with me tonight. She is an assistant principal secretary at Altus High School. And we have one daughter, Kristen. So I'm from a family of educators. I'm the only one that went out and did something different. Went out and got a law degree. And so I'm kind of the stray sheep. They still let me come to Thanksgiving and Christmas and all of that. But for the most part, I did go in a different direction than most of my family. I've been in the legal profession for 29 years. I have been the municipal judge in the city of Hollis for 23 years. I'm in my 23rd year doing that. I preside over all traffic citations, city ordinance violations, and criminal misdemeanor cases that are committed within the city of Hollis. And I've enjoyed doing that. In private practice, I focused a little different route than Brad. He was in the criminal side of things. I've been on the civil side of things. I have a very diverse background in a variety of civil law matters. I focused in banking, real estate, probate, wills, trust. Did a lot of public finance work. And I handled judge trials and jury trials on a variety of matters. Most of my judge trials involve property issues, adverse possession, boundary disputes, things of that nature. Handled a trial involving the incapacitation of a gentleman who executed a trust. So kind of that estate probate background. And then I was hired by the State of Oklahoma Department of Transportation to defend them in a very tragic personal injury case over in Comanche County years ago. And so I wouldn't call myself a trial lawyer, but I have tried cases, and I think that's something I need to mention because I've heard some confusion out there about that issue. In 2006, I had a very unique opportunity to do something a little bit different in the law business. I was approached by a company in Altus, and they asked me to serve as their general counsel Basically, they asked me to become an employee of the company and serve as their in-house lawyer. And it was difficult for me to leave my law practice. I've been doing it for 17 years, but I decided to do that, and it's been a great thing for me. I've been exposed to a lot of different areas of the law that I otherwise would not have had the chance to deal with. I handle everything from contract, employment, regulatory compliance, international export, and litigation. And so I'm still practicing law, just exclusively for one client. And again, it's something that a small town lawyer really doesn't get to do. There's not that many companies that have the need and the ability to hire their own attorney. And I've appreciated the chance to get to do that. In 2014 through mid-2016, we were involved in some very complex civil litigation with my company. It also involved the city of Altus, and it consumed my life for 2.5 years. I dealt with every facet of that case. I managed a team of attorneys in the District Court of Jackson County and also attorneys in Connecticut, the federal court. And that case had a significant impact on our company and as well as the city of Altus. I was involved in every aspect from strategy, the filing of motions. I attended every hearing, attended every deposition, attended every settlement conference, and ultimately the case did settle. And most cases do settle. Not that many cases are actually tried all the way through. So I bring a very diverse civil background to this position. I think that's important. I don't diminish the criminal side of this at all. It's very important, but there's more to it than that. The district attorney tries criminal cases. The district judge does not. The district judge is there to ensure that that defendant receives a fair trial, that the trial is run efficiently, and that the wrong person doesn't go to jail and the right person does. And so the job is bigger than just that one side of the coin. And my experience is on that other side. But I'm looking out over this crowd, and I'd be willing to bet that if you're appearing before the district court, it's likely on a civil matter, not a criminal matter. And I think that's where I excel. I'm fair, I'm impartial, I have the right judicial temperament to do this job. I treat all people the same. I have the ability to get along with the attorneys that are before the court. I have the ability to get along with the court staff. And I agree that the effect of the justice system does rest upon a good judge. And I believe that I'm very qualified for this position. I've got 29 years of experience coming into this, and I would appreciate you considering me on November 6th for your district judge. Thank you.
Remember now that election will be held in November. That was our two candidates for the district judgeship. All right, we have 3 candidates that are here tonight. Talk to us about being a district attorney for our district. Mr. Michael Beeson will be our first speaker. We got to get the beauty between the two beasts, I guess is what I'm trying to say here. Ronna will be our second speaker, and David will be our third speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Zachary. David, at the last forum, I told you I still don't like it when they try to time limit attorneys, but I think there's something new here. Apparently you're a beast and I'm a beast. I know you're here with your husband, so I'll leave that beauty part alone. For those of you that don't know, my name is Michael Beeson. I am a Republican candidate for district attorney. There will be 3 of us speaking tonight. Ron is the Democratic candidate. Mr. Thomas and I meet in the primary, the Republican primary, June 26th. A little bit about myself so that the voters are informed. Rebecca and I have made our home in Altus for approximately 20 years. We have three beautiful girls that are attempting to hide behind the foliage back there, Kennedy, Morgan, and Claire. And I'm proud to announce that all of them are superintendent's honor roll students in the Altus Public Schools. Ms. Berry, we were proud to have you as a teacher, and I think you've done well. They've succeeded immensely. With regard to my own education, I received my Bachelor of Science in Business Administration from Christian Brothers University in Memphis, Tennessee. I was a summa cum laude honor graduate with a concentration in economics and finance. So my background in undergrad is business. I went to Southern Methodist University School of Law, which is a Tier 1 law school, where I was a Merit Scholar recipient. Graduated from there. Actually, Rebecca and I got married between second and third year, which we were ill-advised to do. They told us not to do that, but we did it anyway. We both were admitted to practice in the state of Oklahoma and the Western Federal District in 1999, and I have been a trial attorney and an appellate attorney ever since. So I've got about 20 years in the practice. I have handled all manner of criminal trials, criminal cases, civil trials and cases, and appellate matters. As a matter of fact, I practiced before the Court of Criminal Appeals in the state of Oklahoma and the Oklahoma Supreme Court, and I have published decisions in both. So that's a little bit about my background. With regard to other efforts that I've made at community service, I was proud to serve as an Altus City Councilman and an AMA board member, where I was a proven fiscal conservative and a strong supporter of law enforcement and the issues facing law enforcement. I was a board member of the Sunset PTO, past president of the Jackson County Bar, past president of CASA, court-appointed special advocates group for children, member of the finance committee for my church, First United Methodist Church. I'm a graduate of the Leadership Altus program. I'm a graduate of the Greer Prosecutor School. And I previously proudly served on the District 3 Drug Court Treatment Team. Actually, I think Brad now presides over it. Before that, when I was on the team, it was Judge Deaver, who was the Associate District Judge here in Greer County. And for those of you that don't know, that assists the judge, that team assists the judge in administering the program. I enjoyed that. I really like the statistics that come out of drug court, and of course it's always nice to see a success story. Somebody that successfully completes the program goes on to be a contributing member of society rather than goes to prison. For those of you that don't know, as Mr. Duffy said, a duty of a prosecutor is to prosecute crimes or prosecute criminals, but that is not the only duty. If you look in Title 19, you see that a prosecutor may prosecute or defend in all courts, state and federal, in any county in this state, all civil actions or proceedings in which any county in the district is interested or a party. That's civil law. Rebecca and I have had our own private practice, successful private practice, for 16 years, and we have handled all manner of civil cases, from contested wills, probates, land grabs, fraud, family law. Just about anything that's out there that was a fight, she would sign me up for, and I did it. District Attorney also gives advice to county officers and may be called upon to defend them in civil cases. That's pretty much what I do on a daily basis, is give advice to people. Sometimes they follow it, sometimes they don't. But I've been in that capacity for at least 16 years in my own private practice. Assist in the grand jury as necessary, and serve as the gatekeeper for drug court. So there I feel like my time spent on the drug court treatment team is invaluable. In sum, as much as we hate to think about it, might not like to say it, being a district attorney is more than simply prosecuting crimes. Being a district attorney is also being a businessman. As a matter of fact, in 2016, the District Attorney's Council, in a presentation to the Oklahoma Senate, quoted or stated as follows: district attorneys have increasingly become check collectors, probation officers, investigators, grant writers, and civil forfeiture attorneys in an attempt to keep the doors open. Prosecutor, or the role of prosecutor, continues to fall further and further down the list. They went on to state that district attorneys are already generating more than half the funds to run their offices. So why is a business background and business experience and experience in budgets important? For that very reason. because your district attorney not only prosecutes cases, not only prosecutes criminals, not only makes charging and sentencing decisions, but we must keep the doors open through good budgeting decisions and smart business decisions. Mr. Zachary asked the question, what's my vision? So what's my platform? Well, it's easy for a candidate to stand up here and say, I'm going to be tough on crime. Every prosecutor is going to tell you that. And that's probably the simplest part of the job, to be honest with you. Violent criminals, drug dealers, of course that's my vision. I intend to prosecute them, and not just prosecute them, but send them to prison. They prey on our society, they prey on our children, they affect the safety and security of every citizen in every community across the 5 counties. So yes, unfortunately, it's a hard decision that has to be made, but they have to be taken out of civilized society. You hope there's rehabilitation in prison, you hope they turn it around, but they cannot be here to prey on the rest of us. I propose a stronger partnership with law enforcement. I've been to what I call the outer line counties, the counties aside from Jackson, like Greer. And what I've often heard is, for years and years, we didn't know who our district attorney was. The district attorney didn't have a visible presence, wasn't constantly present. Well, I propose something different. I propose, if I'm elected, that I will be that active, present district attorney. I want everybody in every county to know me when I go to the cafe to eat. That's what I propose for everybody. I propose equity in charging and sentencing. Doesn't matter your station in life, doesn't matter how much money you have or who your mother or your father is. You should get the same offer and the same sentencing as somebody that has nothing. So equity and fairness is important to me. Partnership with law enforcement. I would like to assist police officers in developing strong cases to take to trial from the very beginning. I don't hope to take their role as investigator, get into crime scenes where I shouldn't be, do anything of that nature, but on violent crimes, when I'm requested, when I'm asked, yes, I personally and my assistants would be out at the crime scenes to provide legal support on questions such as arrest, search, and seizure. I think those things are important. Get to know the officers so that when you go to trial, there should be no surprises. You bring absolutely the strongest case that you can bring to make sure that that person that you charge is sentenced to prison and taken out of civilized society. I propose to provide more free education for law enforcement. An educated officer is a better officer, a good officer. I've taught the legal block at Cleat. I enjoyed it immensely. It gives you an opportunity to see what an officer thinks, what an officer deals with, because it's very easy for me to make a charging decision sitting behind the comfort of my desk while I'm drinking coffee. But I don't know exactly what happened out there on the scene unless from time to time I'm out there and unless I actually have an excellent rapport with each and every officer. That helps me to paint that proper picture to a jury. In sum, I respectfully submit to you my business background, my budgeting experience, my education, my training, my prior service as an assistant district attorney, everything that I've done my entire life, my entire life's work, qualify me to be the next district attorney. And I would greatly appreciate your support and your vote on June 26th.
All right, Ms. Hill.
Here. Thank you. So, my name is Ronna Hill, and I am also running for the District 3 District Attorney. I come from a military family. My dad was enlisted in the Air Force and he retired after 20 years. My mother was primarily a homemaker, but she also worked from time to time to make ends meet, because as an enlisted military person, you don't make a lot of money. I have an older sister, and she is currently a nurse at a mental health hospital. She also is a single mother of 3 girls. After my dad retired from the military, we settled in Burnett, Texas, and that's where I graduated from high school. During high school, my first job was at a movie theater. I remember I started at the concession stand and worked my way up. All through college and in high school, I worked at that movie initially I was the assistant manager. As the assistant manager, in addition to opening and closing the business, or helping the employees do what they're supposed to be doing and not chatting because they're usually teenagers. I know that you've all been in a very long line at the movie theater probably before trying to get your popcorn. In addition to doing all the regular duties of running a theater, I was in charge of the inventory, scheduling the employees, and also payroll. And so I had in my mind that I wanted to go to law school. But I was hesitant because no one in my family had ever been to law school. In fact, during college, I had the unique and awkward experience of going to college with my father, because he was going to the college as the first person in his family at the same time that I was going. Thankfully, we didn't have any classes together, but that did not stop him from yelling down the hall, saying, "Slow down, Ron, I'm coming, I'm right behind you." I'm like, oh, my dad's here. Okay. So I didn't know if I for sure wanted to go to law school or not, so I decided to help me make this decision, I would get a job kind of in law enforcement to see if that's what I really wanted to do. So a lot of people don't know this about me, but I was a 911 operator in Wichita Falls Police Department for about a year before I went to law school. It was a very high stress job. It was a very rewarding job. Anyway, so then I met my husband, Tom Hill, who's in the back there, actually when I was working at the movie theater. My boss had a younger brother who was best friends with Tom, and they would come in and come to the movies, and I would see him there. I also had a college class with Tom, but he did not acknowledge my subtle hints of smiling at him and saying hi. So we didn't get together until I told my boss that I thought he was cute. And then my boss told him, and then he called me the next day and asked me on a date. So we started dating about 6 months before I went to law school. We dated all through law school. And then the weekend of my graduation, he proposed, and I said yes, and he's been with me ever since. During law school, I went to Oklahoma City University School of Law in Oklahoma City. During law school, I interned at a private law firm. Additionally, I also interned at the Oklahoma County District Attorney's Office. After law school, I considered some employment options, but settled with the Public Defender's Office here in Mango. The Public Defender's Office here serves the entire district, which is the 5 counties. I mainly go to Greer, Harmon, and Jackson County. I have very few cases in Kiowa and Tillman, but I have gone there as well. I started at the Public Defender's Office here in Mangum in 2007. My husband followed me and applied at the Altus Police Department, and he got a job there. And he's been a police officer with the Altus Police Department since 2007, I believe, also. Let's see. In addition to working at the Public Defender's Office, while I was working at the Public Defender's Office when I started, I was also on the District 3 drug court team for about 4 years. It was probably after Mr. Beeson had left that position and I slid in there as the defense attorney team member. And they've covered the District 3 drug court. Basically, it is an alternative sentencing program that's very useful. I think that it's usually underutilized. I think they have a little over 10 spaces still vacant at this time. I was also, for 2 years, appointed by the Public Defender's Office to represent the Public Defender's Office at the Juvenile Justice Reform Task Force. I know that's like a mouthful. Basically, it was a group of judges, district attorneys, defense attorneys, the Office of Juvenile Affairs, which is like juvenile probation officers, and the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse. And they would meet monthly at the Capitol and try to fix problems with the juvenile justice code, the juvenile law. They'd also try to make, instead of just fixing the problems, make it better. In 2014, I transitioned to appeals, and that's in Norman. It was also with the Public Defender's Office. So we had just, my husband and I had just bought a house in Altus at that time. So I was commuting back and forth. I would go on Monday morning at 4 a.m. and drive to Norman. and I had a little tiny apartment. And then on Friday after work, I would drive back to Altus and have the weekends with him. And that went on for about 2.5 years. While I was at the appeals, I felt like it was extremely useful, and I learned a tremendous amount. I got to pick apart probably over 20 jury trials. I don't know how many pleas and revocations I had to look at, but basically I got to spend 8+ hours a day just reading transcripts and researching the law. Usually the law and the facts are not on the defense side, but during my 2.5 years there, I was able to get a published win in the Bar Journal and 2 unpublished wins. So also in 2014, the same year that I transitioned to appeals, I joined the United States Air Force Reserves as a Judge Advocate General. It was exciting. I got to go to COT, which is the Commissioned Officer Training. It was 5 weeks long, and I don't know if anyone here has been to basic training or not. I'm not saying that COT, the Commissioned Officer Training, is as hard as basic training. It's clearly not, but it was the hardest thing that I've had to ever do. In addition to classes all day long and running and push-ups and sit-ups, I got the pleasure of being screamed at in my face all day long, and then the sleep deprivation upon that because you had tons of assignments to do. You couldn't get outside of your room past a certain time, so you were like with flashlights trying to read and do our assignments. And then in the morning, they would bang on your door and wake you up at like 4 a.m. so you can go out and run. Okay, so then after COT, where they had 5 weeks of classes and the running and the screaming, during those 5 weeks, they taught you how to be an officer. They taught you how to lead, how to motivate others, how to just basically be an all-around good airman. They also taught you how to march. And then after COT, I got to do 9 weeks at JSOC, which is the Judge Advocate Staff Officer course. That's where they teach you how to be a military lawyer. The bulk of the training was in military justice and prosecution. So it's court martials and administrative discharges. They also had courses on military things like the law of armed conflict, international and space law, things of that nature. They also had a civil law component. And of course, civil law covered things like wills, legal assistance, which is a lot of landlord-tenant issues for the most part, and private organizations, like a lot of organizations want to come onto the base and do fundraisers for whatever, like USO, things like that. The leadership portion that they also taught during JSOC was about quality force management, how to manage people effectively, how to motivate people, because not everyone gets motivated by money. Clearly, as a public servant, your motivation is to help people. And I think that a lot of the candidates have touched on that. In addition to the ordinary law that you think of when you think of the military, they also have to advise commanders on a range of topics. It could be anything. They want to know what the law is on that matter. I think that this would be a lot similar in a lot of ways to advising the county commissioners on legal issues. When I first joined the reserves, I remember having a conversation with a member of law enforcement in Altus. I'm not going to name names. And he told me that he really thought that I would like the military justice part. And I was like, well, why? Because I already know, a lot about military justice. And he was like, no, it's because when I helped with an investigation, I went and told the prosecution what the evidence was. And they told me, okay, now go over to the defense table and tell them the same thing. And he was absolutely right. I love the disclosure that's in the military. If they have evidence, they're giving it to the other side. And I think that's the only way to go. I believe in working hard. I'm usually at the office on weekends. I'm usually making phone calls after hours. I'm usually visiting people at the jail because I find it difficult to sleep if I know that someone's waiting for me to do something. If someone's waiting on me to do something, I feel like every moment of my day needs to be utilized. I feel like in this position you have to have compassion. As a district attorney, you're visiting with witnesses and victims of crime. And I feel like I have a lot of compassion for people. And I truly believe in serving others. I've always had like a very strong sense of right and wrong, and I truly love the law. My vision for the district attorney's office is one where there are no games. I'm a very busy person and I don't have time for games. If the state has evidence, there should be a copy for the defense. It should be provided within a reasonable time and not the minimum by law of 10 days. I believe that it's the duty of the government to provide discovery, and that duty should not be shifted onto the defense counsel through an open file policy. My vision is not to waste time and not to waste taxpayers' money with ridiculous negotiations. What do I mean? Well, first of all, you can't negotiate if you don't know what the facts are. You're going in there blind, saying, oh, please, can you give me the best deal? If you don't know what the evidence is, then you have to wait 6 months to set it for trial, because jury trials don't happen every day. There's usually 2 dockets, 2 jury terms in a year. So once you get on one of those, you request the discovery, and then you have to wait sometimes 10 days before the trial starts to find out what the evidence is. What does that do? That makes the case drag on for the defendant, who's sitting in jail, $30+ a day, and then when they get out, it's going to be very difficult if they ever pay that back, which is taxpayer money. Additionally, not only does it delay everything for the defendant, it drags the case on for the witnesses and the victim. They have to live through that every day. There's no purpose, I don't believe, in dragging cases on. My vision is to fully utilize all alternative sentencing programs. Currently, the drug court program has vacancies, and I don't think that should ever be an issue. Additionally, I would want to look into mental health court and community sentencing. Currently, I think it's only Tillman County that has community sentencing as an option. And this is a great program that safely saves taxpayer money. I don't have the same amount of experience as the other candidates. I'll be 40 this July. So give me some time. I'll catch up. I've had 5 trials. I know that I will have to surround myself, if elected, with capable assistant attorneys and staff. And I believe that John Wampler, the district attorney that hired both of the other candidates, actually I don't think he's ever done a trial. So what I do have is different experience and training. And I've learned that to be an effective leader, you must give clear direction to your employees. And that is what I plan to do. So the general election is on November 6th, and I hope you'll all get out and vote for him.
All right, Mr. David Thomas. Your first name.
Yeah. First of all, I want to thank David for calling me and inviting me up here. I want to thank Marion and the Chamber of Commerce for allowing us to come and speak. And Ron did some more research. John Wampler did some trials. And he hired some very, very good trial lawyers. Judge Leverett back there. I consider myself decent. Let me introduce myself. I'm David Thomas. I am presently the first assistant district attorney in District 3. That's over the 5 counties. I have served in that position under 2 different district attorneys. I am married. I grew up in Altus, graduated in 71, went to OSU, graduated there in 75, and then went to University of Oklahoma College of Law, graduated there in 1980. I've been married to my wife Carla here for 36 years. We're coming up on 37. And we have 3 grown children. And we are the proud grandparents of 8 grandchildren. Got to watch my kids grow up in Altus. Our grandkids, we get to now see some of them grow up in Altus. And one of them's here with me tonight, Carly Thomas, and she's a special little girl. I let her do all our media. She's 14, but believe me, she can run circles around most of us. So I'm very proud of Carly, and as I am my other grandchildren. Two of them are being babysat tonight, or I would have brought them too, but you'd be having to move your chairs because the little wagons would be everywhere. My father was M.B. Thomas. He was the local area agronomist and cotton specialist here in southwest Oklahoma. My mother was Joanne Thomas. She was an owner and operator of a children's clothing store in Altus, located on the square. And I miss them both dearly. They knew a lot of people, and I wish they were here now. Let me tell you a little bit, though, about myself, what makes me click, what's important to me. With respect to the bedrock that forms a foundation that's both in my personal life and professional life, it is faith and family. Faith for this reason. I would not be standing here in front of you had the Lord not restored my life many years ago. I would not be standing here talking to you. There's no telling what I'd do. The Lord also restored my family. The Lord also restored my career. And for all those things, I will be forever grateful. With regard to why I believe I'm the most qualified candidate for district attorney, and that's based on what I consider to be my unmatched experience. I have 37 years trial lawyer experience. And understand when I say that, that's not just jury criminal trials. It also includes many jury civil trials. I have, of those 37 years, spent 17 of those years as an assistant or first assistant district attorney, and as I stated, under 2 different DOs. During that time in the DA's office that I have, I've prosecuted thousands of felony cases. I have tried many, many jury trials. And now when I say jury trial, I'm talking about going to court, selecting a jury, presenting evidence, waiting for a verdict, and then proceeding later to sentence successful jury trials. And the only man that I know of in this part of the state that might come up to the amount of trials that I've had and successfully is Judge Lawrence. I believe, Judge, I've got more than you as far as trials.
You're not over.
Is his time up?
No, I think he's got about 2 minutes.
Well, he's not giving in regard to those jury trials, with regard to criminal cases, let me tell you, it takes a team to do a jury trial. And yes, I start at the time of investigation. 2 nights ago, I don't think Carla woke up. She's a heavier sleeper than I got a call 3 o'clock in the morning. They wanted to know about doing a search warrant. Do we have enough to do it? And you know what? We don't say yes all the time. I told them no. They didn't have enough. I would love to have told them to go in, but I didn't want some defense attorney later, after they got discovered, getting it thrown out. So I told them the truth. I told them what the law is. Don't go in. When I get a call, and we get calls on all the violent felony cases, I go out to the scene. Do I investigate it? No. What I do is give advice to the officers, what I believe would be legal, what evidence I believe would help our case if they were looking for. Additionally, I go down to the station when they were interviewing a suspect, and I watch it on video. And when I take a break, in many cases, I would go, if you go back in, ask them this. So I work closely with law enforcement, and I have for years. I've talked with law enforcement, I've talked with search and seizure and other issues. The cases that I've tried though do include the type of offenses: rape, robbery, kidnapping, aggravated assault and battery, assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, child abuse, child molestation, manslaughter, murder 2, murder 1, murder 1 with death penalty. Done several death penalty cases. Have I published in the Court of Criminal Appeals records? You can go read? Yes, I am. Now, I will tell you, I think, and it's probably because I got a good appellate panel when one of my death penalty cases was on review. I'm probably the only attorney in this part of the state that had both. As the lead prosecutor, got the death penalty conviction, death penalty assessed, and has lived to see the defendant executed. That doesn't happen very often.
Am I proud of that? No, especially, but I will tell you what I'm proud of, is that man died death penalty. I believe in the death penalty. And if you had seen the brutality that was taken out on that 2-year-old child that was beaten helplessly to death, I believe you would. Now, with regard to, again, the trials, again, it takes a team. It takes law enforcement, it takes witnesses, it takes expert witnesses. Not only can I work with law enforcement, I work with our experts. And I'm talking about the OCI, the medical examiner's office. I get these in. As a trial lawyer, you become the director of that trial. Who to put on, where to put them on, and you learn about these people. You learn their expertise, and you get to know them. And I work with them good. Our law enforcement officers are a big part of that, and I love working with law enforcement. Now, what would I do if I were actually to take the seat of district attorney for you? And I agree, I work for you. I just had the pleasure of doing that for many years now as first assistant, and I'd like to do it as your district attorney. What I would do is liaise a couple of things. One, I'm going to continue to prosecute and incarcerate the violent felony offenders, because I believe our district, your county, my county, all the counties in the district, people need protection, and we need these people off the street that are violent criminals, and they need to be incarcerated. Secondly, I would prioritize the prosecution of gang members. Right now, I don't think we do that. I think we need to. It has been 20 years since what Judge Levitt talked about, and our gang problem in Altus is growing here. An example, a year ago, approximately a year, we had 3 gang members, 2 of which stood outside one of our detectives' homes in Altus. And about 3 in the morning, and they fired off more than 30 rounds into the house, while the third guy was in a car. Luckily, the detective nor his wife was here. We have those guys in jail. About 2 months ago, on Broadway Street in Altus, we have 2 cars at about 10 o'clock Saturday morning speeding down Broadway, and they're full of gun bangers, and they're exchanging gunfire. Fortunately, none of our bystanders or innocent citizens got hit. I would, in all cases where we suspect it's gang members, see if we can verify that, and once we can get them under a gang statute. But my goal would be to incarcerate them for violent offenses and drug distribution, because these guys are no good to the community. They are a cancer, and they need to be gone. The third bill, with regard to the opioid crisis, and I do believe there is a crisis over here in the courthouse 2 weeks ago. I was helping Dan, he was selecting a jury, and we had 18 people up there in front of us, and what we learned was that 13 of the 18 either had a family member or a close friend who had a drug problem. And it's a problem. What would I do? I'd like to become more involved with drug court. I have not had that experience yet. I've not had the opportunity. I would as DA. And I would also believe be able to help assess and decide who comes into drug court. I love the program, and let me tell you what it's saying. On the average, if we send a person to prison for 1 year, it's going to cost you and me $19,000. If we can divert them and they have a substance abuse problem, not only are we trying to get them rehab and put back into society as productive citizens, we're also saving us money. It costs $5,000 per year as opposed to $19,000. So it's a good program. Now, with regard to that, if they're not eligible for drug court, I would have anyone we suspect in a nonviolent case where the offender appears to be a drug dependent, have them undergo an evaluation, and then decide whether or not they can go into inpatient or outpatient treatment, or if in fact they're eligible for drug court. And the last one that I think is a problem, because I watch TV like you guys do, and I see the news, it makes me sick. Every day I cringe to turn on TV and see if another school has been shot at and innocent students killed. One of my goals would be to get with educators, get with law enforcement, get with parents. It has to be a community effort, collaborative effort, and let's make some smart resolution on how to address this. I take Carla to school every day, and when I drop her off, I say a prayer. I do every day. Ask Michael taking his voice or Rebecca. You love your children, I love my children, I love my grandchildren. And it scares me to death. We've got to do something. Is it arming teachers? I don't know. I need to hear from educators. Is it putting more guards in the school? I don't know. I need to listen. You know, sometimes the answer is listening to suggestions. That's what I think I need to do. That's what I want to do. So, based on all that I've stated to you, based on all the experience that I have as an assistant and first assistant district attorney, and as a lawyer, trying cases, having my own law practice, I've been a partner in a law practice, I know what money means, I know what the budget is. With regard to my experience and what I've stated to you, I will respectfully request your vote to be the Republican candidate come June 26th. Thank you.
Now, if you're a Republican now, you're going to vote for Mr. Howard or Mr. Beeson on June 26th.
Mr. Thomas.
Thomas.
Yes.
I was close. I was the same building, wasn't I? But they are, you're on the ticket on June 26th. So if you're Republican, make sure you get out there and cast your vote. I think we can't go wrong with either one of them myself. All right. Let me say this about the people's talk so far. I visited with everybody, I think, besides one on the phone a little bit about their type of job that they have. And to me, what we've talked about so far is basically a non-political job. I don't want a Republican or a Democrat being my district judge. I want a person who understands the law and does what's right. Same way as the district attorney. When I go talk to somebody about a county road, I don't want a Republican or Democrat answer. I want a Greer County answer. Fix the road for us. Fix stuff like that for us. So that's going on. Now these next two gentlemen have to go up there on Lincoln Street and deal with that brood of vipers up there. But I pray for our legislators every day because it's a tough job. And I would hope that the next person we send as our senator will stand up for the rights of Southwest Oklahoma. And I think these will. All right, now, if I don't miss this up, we'll be all right. Mr. Brent Howard.
Surely I don't need that, do I?
Yeah, grab it.
I'm informed I do need that. So, thank you to our media. Thank you, David, for hosting us. I'm not going to take away from what you said. Do vote for Brent Howard. So whenever you see that name on the ballot, put a check by it. A little bit of who I am. So I have a website, Howard4OK. I encourage you to go there. I've also got a Facebook page, Brent Howard. You can find me running for Senate. I'm keeping updates. There's some pictures of Jeff in the background because we're showing up at all the same things, but I'm in the focus. So you can really learn from that on the day-to-days, and I'm posting videos as well of who I am, because it's not just who you see on the campaign trail. I am the same person on the farm, I'm the same person in my law office, and I'm the same person in church. So I just wanted to hit on 4 topics for who I am. First would be faith. I am a man of faith. I think that I'm not going to impose my religion on anybody else. I just think that anybody that goes into public service needs to have that faith, because they need to be serving a higher power. They need to realize that there's something bigger than they are. And I think that we have too many politicians that serve themselves because their ego gets in the way. Faith is going to be my foremost, and it's who I am, and it is my bedrock. So it will always bring me back to representing the people that I'm up there representing. Next would be family. My lovely wife Jennifer in the back. She is right behind on that bedrock. She supports me in all of these endeavors. Speaking of faith, we've helped expand our church, and she's been very instrumental in that as well. And I just love that support. And then my parents are back here as well, Bob and Renee Howard. Both of them are public servants or have been. And so they've really been inspiration for me in being able to see what somebody that has a goal and a long-term vision can actually do as they get into that public service. So the more that's expected, you can't always do everything. And there's budget restrictions, and Jeff and Brent, you're going to see those. And Brent, you've seen them whenever you're trying to do district or county commissioner things at District 1, because you know that we're still based upon the funding of 1987 levels here in 2017, 2018. So there's things that are just bigger than you, and you need to go in truly with a servant heart to see what you can do to make things better so that they're better than whenever you came in. Next would be farming. I'm 35 years old, so young, but that gives me a little bit of vigor to go in. I've spent probably 30 of those years active on the farm. And that's because my dad taught me the value of hard work. So the best thing about that, he was very lenient. We only had to work half days during the summer. And typically we got to choose which 12 hours those were. So I do believe in that hard work. Rana, same as you, there at the office early, put in your time, be dedicated, you're there serving. And then the last thing on who I am is leadership and representation. So I'm the 6th lawyer that's been up here, luckily the last, cutting them off after this. I guess this is Rattlesnake Derby town, so we've had a lot of snakes in, David. Hey, lawyer jokes, everybody likes a good lawyer joke, and they're funny because they're true most of the time. But really you learn being a lawyer. You go to law school to learn how to take somebody's issue, make it your own so that you can represent them. That's what I want to take up to the State House. I want to take your issue, whether it's education, whether it's road funding, whether it's criminal justice reform, whether it's what we need for our district attorneys, for our judges. And I want to make that issue my own because I want to represent rural Oklahoma whenever I'm up there so that we actually have change and we have something going forward to really, really be proud of this state. So, I'm going to get out of here on time, too. My vision for the office really is representation. What I've learned in 3 years of law school and 10 years of practice. Be able to represent, take somebody's issue, make it your own, be able to speak eloquently about that, but also forcefully. So that everybody that's up there in the urban area knows that rural Oklahoma has a voice and that we're well represented. Leadership. I want to take that. So really, as David said, there's a lot of partisan issues that get played. And unfortunately, that's how the state goes right now. That's how the State House is. We've got 48 senators representing Oklahoma, 42 of whom have been Republicans, and it looks like most of those will stay. So as we talk about getting an effective voice, somebody in caucus meetings, somebody being able to lead committee meetings, the Republican side helps me on that, to be able to be in there where decisions are being made, to be able to represent and truly get things back here to Oklahoma so that we have a long-term vision, so that we're not losing our population, so that we have kids that want to come back here and be involved in the farm, or build another brick plant, or open up a new business. So, and that ties into my last one, is planning ahead. How long has it been since we've had vision in the government to where we're actually building on what we have and what we're building on infrastructure? I just said road funding is still at 1987 levels. That had been planning ahead. We need somebody that's going to go in there and do that. Running my own small practice, being on church finance committee, I know how to budget, I know how to put that in place. And that's what I want to take to the State House so that we have something that's going to be infrastructure here, not just for 5 years down the road where we've been patching and trying to make things work. I want something that's going to survive, something that's going to succeed, so that we have 50,000 people move in rather than 50,000 people move out. So that's what I'm asking for. Again, howard4ok.com for my website, Brent Howard on Facebook, or you can find me after this and ask me any questions. I'd appreciate your vote on November 6th. Again, just in the general election, we don't have primary opponents, which is good and bad because now we have to run a marathon all the way to November. Thank you all. 6:58.
Mr. Jeff Barone. I want you to know, Jeff, that I attended Harvard on the Hill back in the 70s, so I knew your folks.
Well, Brent, Mike said something about an Elvis. Where are you, Brent? I didn't see you. About an Elvis impersonation. Is he known for this around here? Do we need to? Do you like do an Elvis deal or?
When the hair fell out.
Okay, I was gonna say if we need to have like a karaoke state senate, throwdown or something, maybe that's it. No, and the other thing's interesting here. You actually have you have a county commission race where the candidates are Brent and Jeff. And then you have a state senate race where the candidates are Brent and Jeff. So that's kind of interesting. But anyway, y'all have either, I am the last of 9 candidates that you had to listen to tonight. So you all are either real troopers or you're masochists. I don't know which one. But it's good to be here. I'm Jeff Barong. I'm running for the state senate. And, every election cycle, people are going to tell you either, it's the most important election you've ever voted in your life, or this is an historic election, and that sort of thing. Well, I will say this actually is an historic election for Senate District 38. And it's a funny stories for a later time, but the point is this is the first election that has been held with this Senate district the way it is configured now with all of these counties that are in it. First time in state history that Greer County, Jackson County, and part of Custer County are in the same district. Just so everybody knows right now, after the 2010 census, when the district was reconfigured, the current district is the Clinton and Weatherford precincts in Custer County, all of Washita County, all of Kiowa, all of Greer, all of Jackson, all of Harlan. So it's a big district. I'm from Weatherford, born and raised in Weatherford, but my mom's side of the family is from Altus. So I've spent my life around southwest Oklahoma, very familiar with the district, very comfortable in the district. I was fortunate. I was fortunate to be raised by a family. I was surrounded by a family who loved and supported me, taught me respect, taught me discipline, taught me the value of hard work. I was taught from a young age that we're to be givers and not takers. That we are to give back to our community. That we're to try to be the glue that helps hold the world together. Sometimes I think maybe I take that foundation for granted and forget that there are so many children out there who don't experience what I got to experience. And I think if there were some way we could fix that, I think we would solve a whole lot of other problems we've got at the same time. I went to college at OU, graduated with a business degree, and went to work for Congressman Dan Boren for several years in eastern Oklahoma before I came home to Weatherford. I always knew I was going to come home to western Oklahoma. But came back home 12 years ago to join our family business, Ed Barong Insurance Agency. Been in business for 70 years. I'm third generation in that. And again, I always want to move back to western Oklahoma. It's home for me. I love the people. It's where the family and my business are. So I'm very glad to be back. And I've been, in Weatherford, my community, I've been very active, taking leadership roles in the Great Plains Family YMCA, the Chamber of Commerce, our Rotary Club, Economic Development Foundation. So very glad to be where I'm at. People ask, why would you want to get involved in politics at this time? Why would you put yourself through this and then if you win, have to deal with that mess in the Capitol? Well, I think if you're going to run for office, I think you need to know why you're doing it. I think you need to feel it in here. And every time I ask myself that question, what I keep coming back to is I've been raised my whole life to believe in our system of government, to believe that this is how we work together to solve our problems and collectively move society forward, to believe that what happens up at the state capitol really does matter to the folks back home. And I think that now, maybe more than ever in my lifetime, we've got to have good people, good public servants who care about what's doing right for the people as a whole, not just special interests, but for the people as a whole. And public servants who our children can look up to again. That's what we need. They say that The hottest places in hell are reserved for those who, in a time of great moral crisis, maintain their neutrality. Well, I couldn't just sit back. That's not how I was raised. We've got a lot of problems in this state, a lot of self-imposed wounds. And what's very important is that we elect candidates who understand. In this time where so many of our elected officials, I think that their philosophy on government is, fold up the tent and go home. Well, that's not the answer in Western Oklahoma. We've got to elect legislators who understand that while economy and government is important, you've got to fund government. Yes, that means public education. That means infrastructure. That means rural hospitals, mental health and substance abuse services. We've got to decide what kind of state we want Oklahoma to be. You all, and the funny thing is, is here we are, so many of us, there's so many familiar faces because, the candidates and the family and volunteers, we see each other at a lot of these events, but y'all have heard me say this before, but I think partisanship makes otherwise sensible people do stupid things. I'm a conservative Democrat, like my grandfather was before me, and I'm going to be running a nonpartisan race for this state's Senate seat. Our problems in this state and in our nation are so much bigger than Democrat versus Republican. If we keep going the way we have been, we will burn this country to the ground with partisanship and accomplish nothing. We cannot forget every single lasting legislative achievement that this country has produced has been because of bipartisanship. We can't forget that. We've got to find points of unity in this country. And it starts locally. And I've decided in Western Oklahoma, it starts with me, it starts with this campaign. We're going to see Republicans and Democrats working together, I hope, for a unified agenda. Something else I say is my last name's Barong, and I've worked for two men named Boren. So for my whole life, I haven't known any other way than bipartisanship and working together. That's the kind of spirit we need in public life right now. Not the hate-filled politics of division that we hear all too often, I'm afraid. So, I care about good public policy. I care about good government. We should all be, or none of us should be anti-government. We should all be anti-bad government. In my opinion, we've got too many politicians and not enough statesmen. I was always raised to be a statesman. Somehow, we've got to, as a society, we've got to rejuvenate our faith in our government institutions and our faith in our ability and all of us to work together to accomplish great things. If we lose that, we are in a heap of trouble, and I think we're in a heap of trouble. I want to be part of fixing this. I want to be part of the solution. We should all want to be part of that solution. So, is it a partisan election? Yes, it is. What I'll say is this, and there are, again, 48 members of the Senate. There are 40 Republicans in the Senate, not 42, a little detailed, but 8 Democrats. I think after this election there will be several more. But the point is, something about the Senate that's different than the House, and it's always been this way, and I sure hope it remains this way. Regardless of what party you're from, if you're a constructive person who cares about the issues, who cares about good public policy and working together, you can be effective in the state Senate. Not only as representing your district and representing the constituent needs that all of you and your families will have. Because when you call and you pick up the phone and you're interested, I tell you, the state agencies listen to members of the legislature regardless of party, especially if they respect that member of the legislature and knows that they work hard for good public policy and knows that they care, and they're not worrying about partisan agendas, but worrying about the fact that Oklahomans, Americans, need victories in real life, not partisan stuff that we all get to suffer through. So that's me. And I think I get the award, I believe, for the furthest drive down here, because it's a big district. Brent and I kind of trade off on that, and so I get the long drive home tonight. But you all have been very patient throughout all 9 of us tonight. I want to leave you with this, and that is that my commitment is the same commitment that my grandfather made when he first ran for the state senate in 1958. I will work hard and I will work honestly. And I want to earn your vote on November 6th. Thank you. Let's go out and save our state together. Thank you.
I hope it's been informative tonight. I think for our two Senate candidates, I like it because you're both younger, a lot younger than I am. I think some of the older guys are very partisan. And I'm going to tell you right now, whichever one of you guys get elected, I'm voting for one of you, okay? But whichever one of you get elected, if I think you're not doing something that doesn't represent Southwest Oklahoma, I'm calling you. That's what it's going to be. That's the way I feel about it. So I expect you guys to do what's right. And that's what the way I live. I actually thought about running for office, but I looked up the job description in the clothing restriction, and they won't let me wear shorts. This is my summertime attire. I will make a surprise announcement, though, that I think in 2020 that I'm running for president, and Missy Burial was going to be my vice president candidate. So, but hey, thanks, guys. Oh, back here on the table, there's sample ballots. There's also some information on mail-in ballots. What else is there? If you cannot vote on June 26th, you live in Greer County, okay? You can vote on Thursday and Friday at the courthouse, early voting, from 8 until 6. That's Thursday and Friday. And on Saturday, from 9 until 2 o'clock. So you have no excuse not to go do what I call, it's not just your right, but your responsibility. Go vote. Okay? There's water back here, nice, Jess. I should have told you that before. There's still some coffee up here. It's been a long day. God bless you. Get with your candidate, talk to him.